The NBA is going through a very similar panic to what happened at the start of 2020. NBA players left and right have been getting sick and entering health and safety protocols, and what's important in the NBA, sad as it is that a lot of these players have been bigger names, including the likes of Giannis, Harden, Ja Morant, LaMelo Ball, and both of the players from the best duo in the NBA, don't at me. Those players are Zach and DeMar, by the way. And the response by the league to this has not exactly been ideal, seemingly waiting until teams got too many players sick. Like, they didn't postpone the Bulls games until one more player got sick, like they were waiting for it, which is pretty fucked up. They haven't postponed Nets games either when like half of their roster has been gone as well. And just overall, it doesn't seem like the NBA is taking this stuff as seriously as you would like them to, as if they're treating it like something that's from the past, but no, it's still very much here. And the potential of not nipping this in the bud could end up leading to dire consequences when things get too bad for just small solutions. So, let's talk about how everything could be on fire soon. Before I continue on with this video, about half of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you fall in that 50%, then please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. We're a little over 5,000 subs now from that goal, so if you could subscribe, seriously, I hate saying appreciated over and over again, but I would appreciate it, so do it. Also, drop a like on this video, only takes 1 second, and it makes a massive difference. Also, because I don't think I have said this in any main channel video yet, there's not going to be a deep dive this week because I don't want to burn myself out creatively, so yeah. So real quick out of the gate, I want to say that the NBA and the NBA Players Association did meet to discuss changing some of their protocols. And they now plan on increasing testing around the league, doing tests before each game and practice. Apparently, rules with testing were a lot more loose before. I would have assumed that that was the plan from the very beginning, but apparently not, being that players like Zach LaVine ended up playing in a game and then immediately going into health and safety protocols within hours after that game ended, so clearly he wasn't tested before the game. It's not good that the rules were as loose as they were, but potentially tightening those and putting some more restrictions and more testing, it could possibly solve the problem altogether, but we'll have to wait and see. That said, those looser rules early on already have large consequences that have happened and could bleed into larger consequences in the future. The Bulls have had their season completely derailed by the virus. The Nets season is well on the way to having the same thing happen. Luckily, Kevin Durant has avoided it and he has done some carry job games, not that that wasn't happening already this season, but it's already skewing the results of games for some of the league's top teams. Now, this did happen with the Sixers last year, and it actually had a similar panic. I also believe something kind of similar happened with the Boston Celtics, and they had games postponed as a result. And it is worth mentioning that the league did not handle that situation well either. In fact, they apparently forced an injured Mike Scott onto the Sixers' active roster so that they could meet the minimum 8 active players to play their games, instead of just postponing those games, because that's not a great financial decision for the league. They said, hey, injured guy, pretend you're not injured so that we can play these games. And then the Sixers went out there with 7 players. And Tyrese Maxey balled the fuck out because he's really good, but still a problem that game even happened to begin with, and a couple of games actually. There was also an outbreak with the Celtics, I believe, and I think that's when Tatum got the disease himself, and things got concerning at the time because of that. In fact, if I recall, I ended up making a video very similar to this one where I was like, hey, is the league gonna have to shut down again? And while you might look at that and say that that was an overreaction then, so that means it's an overreaction now, I would actually say that reaction was fully valid then, and it's fully valid now, because even though the league didn't go up in flames when they didn't make that decision to postpone the season for a short period of time, there were still consequences in terms of the records of teams, and it's not as though because they avoided the fire this time, it's just automatically not going to happen this time, especially with the new variant. Just because things did not end up getting out of hand then does not inherently mean that things will not get out of hand now. And with the fact that there has been the variant discovered actually with an NBA player, I don't know why I'm saying that like it's Pete Davidson getting caught with Kim Kardashian, like they have the variant. My point is that could mean even more dire consequences. With the Bulls situation, it was pretty comically bad. They literally signed Stanley Johnson so that they would have a rotation player with their guys all out with the illness, and then before he even got to play a minute, Stanley Johnson got the illness and went into health and safety protocols as a result. It even extended from the players to the freaking commentators. Stacey King went out with it, and the substitute commentator Bill Wennington also got it. So the Bulls were running third-string commentators along with their third-string players. This team ran Alfonso McKinney 30 minutes in an NBA game after he had not played all season and didn't even get an opportunity to practice with the team because they were literally out of players to play. And as I mentioned earlier, Zach LaVine, after playing versus the Miami Heat, went into health and safety protocols mere hours after that game, which can only make you wonder if he's potentially spread that to Miami Heat players. I'm sure by now we would have heard of if that was actually the case, but regardless, it was very much a potential thing that hopefully has luckily been avoided. Now, what I would suggest is not some drastic shutdown where the league is closed for 5 months and there's like a bubble situation. And that's for two reasons. One, I genuinely don't think that's even remotely necessary. I think that is a drastic overcorrection. And two, the league would never fucking go for that again, being that they lost $1.5 billion when they did that last time. I know the league does not want to go through that shit again, and they really don't need to. Because one, it's easier to just take a quick pause now, things were not new and concerning. And then two, the consequences of players getting it are just less dire than they were because the league has a 95% vaccination rate. Still not good for the players to get it, but the consequences not as bad. I don't think a situation like Jason Tatum forever having his physicality just changed because of having the virus is necessarily going to happen again. What I do think the league should do is have a 2-week break where every single player, every single member of staff, and pretty much anyone who's involved and that close to the floor has to stay at home for those 2 weeks and quarantine. And when they are able to come back, they will test before practice each individual player separate from each other before letting them get in, and they have multiple tests to make sure that they're clear. And then from there, they can play games again, but they're returning to a different situation in terms of how fans are involved. And really, there are 3 potential scenarios here, and all of them will piss somebody off. So feel free to comment down below what Joe Rogan told you, but I don't really fucking care at this point. So there's 3 things. They have a mask mandate. When I went to the Charlotte Hornets game, the staff literally would tell you, wear a mask to enter the arena, but if you take it off when you're inside, we're not stopping you. You take your mask off, everyone takes their fucking mask off as soon as they enter the building. If you have a rule and you don't enforce it, there's 0 point in having the rule. Simple as that. Even if you're not someone who cares about that kind of shit, you have to agree that not enforcing the rule makes the rule pointless. That's just how rules work. Second, the NBA could just simply have a 50% capacity or even less than that, as they did early on in the season when it returned last year. But I feel like the NBA would not go for that because of the revenue loss that would cause. So the third solution, and what I think would be the best one, and is going to turn this comment section to a fucking toxic nightmare, is having a mandate for vaccinations for fans who are in the arena. I have already gone to multiple public events where they require you to show your vaccination card in order to actually get into the event, and the events still sell out. So I don't think the NBA would lose much in terms of revenue, and they would absolutely have their financial stuff covered. Well, that's the same thing. And they would absolutely have the safety of their players covered significantly more than it was. If the league has a 95% vaccination rate and every fan in the arena is vaccinated, and they're taking the proper protocols in terms of testing their players before, after, during, fucking everything of practices and games, I guarantee you this thing is about as tight as you can make it be without just simply not playing. Either way, the NBA has shown a disregard for its players' health, and that is just not acceptable, especially being that they claim to prioritize that when that has absolutely not been the case. But either mask mandate at the very least, I think that's the worst solution, but at least do that. Have fans in the arena, or a vaccine mandate. I think the vaccine mandate is both the most safe option and the most profitable for the league, so I feel like that's the obvious solution here. And a brief 2-week shutdown. That's what I think should happen. Now, in terms of what I actually expect to happen, it's none of that. I imagine it'll be similar to last year, where with the Sixers and their situation and with the Celtics and their outbreak, no one really takes it all that seriously and they just kind of let it happen, and there are consequences, but not too severe. The only thing that I fear is that the consequences this time around will be more severe because of the variant, but also everyone's vaccinated, so I don't know, it might balance out. I'm not a fucking scientist, I don't know how it works exactly, but either way, I feel like the NBA is playing with fire to some degree or another, and this would be a way to put that fire out. Players' health matters. Like, Jason Tatum has forever been changed in terms of how his body is. Like, he has to use an inhaler now because he had the disease. And if you're wondering why I haven't named it in this entire video and why it's censored in the thumbnail, YouTube sucks. So they will censor you for just talking about it. So yeah, had to cover it up and had to just say the disease the whole time, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, that's it. Comment's gonna fucking suck on this one, but shout out to Rudy for editing this video. At the end of this video, please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.